Sometimes reality presents a story that's just too good to pass up.
Don't you want to see what Daddy does for a living?
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movie villains inspired by actual people.
You do good in school?
Yeah.
That's good. I did too. They call that a paradox.
For this list, we're looking at the great and memorable villains of film who were allegedly based on or influenced by real people. However, biographical films that directly adapt the lives of villains won't be included. We're instead looking at villains that exist within a larger story, who were influenced by a real person, even if that fact is never stated within the film itself.
I will bring you hope, old friend. And I ask only one thing in return. Don't get in my way.
Number 10. Dr. Evil, the Austin Powers franchise.
Ow! You shot me, you a-hole!
Possibly everybody's favorite character, let alone villain from the Austin Powers series, Dr. Evil is well known for being a spoof of typical James Bond villains, especially Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
Blow them up as soon as they have captured the Americans. Here's the key.
However, Dr. Evil is also reportedly based on a real person, and that person is Saturday Night Live producer Lorne Michaels, who just so happened to be one of Mike Myers' bosses from his time on the show.
People have to know who's in charge and everyone has to have a direct route to you.
Myers is said to have based Evil's facial and vocal mannerisms on Michaels, and even the baddie's catchphrase,
"Throw me a frickin' bone here,"
is borrowed from him, a takeoff of something he regularly spouted during SNL meetings.
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard?
Number 9. Severus Snape, the Harry Potter franchise.
There will be no foolish wand-waving or silly incantations in this class.
No, there wasn't really a dark magical wizard like this, so you can put your minds at ease.
I can teach you how to bewitch the mind and ensnare the senses.
In reality, author J.K. Rowling allegedly based Snape, the greasy-haired, ambiguous tormentor of Harry and his friends, on her old chemistry teacher, John Nettleship.
It may have escaped your notice, but life isn't fair. Your blessed father knew that. In fact, he frequently sought it.
My father was a great man.
Your father was a swine.
Nettleship was the head of science at Wydene School in Gloucestershire, which also happened to be where Rowling's mother briefly worked. The school teacher would later describe himself as short-tempered and with a dark, foreboding laboratory.
Lazy, arrogant.
Don't say a word against my father.
Weak.
I'm not weak.
Then prove it. Control your emotions.
While we're hoping he didn't directly hit students over the head with a book, Nettleship's strictness had surely become legendary by his retirement in 1997.
You want to be careful. People will think you're up to something.
Number 8. Ursula, the Little Mermaid.
Come in, my child. We mustn't lurk in doorways. It's rude.
Ursula is technically based on the sea witch character from the Hans Christian Andersen story, The Little Mermaid, which you know this movie is adapted from. But Disney actually dramatically expanded her role and provided her with an original character design for the animated musical fantasy.
She may be the key to Triton's undoing.
This design, including her wild hair, extravagant makeup, and large figure, was actually modeled after the famous drag queen Divine.
Can I ask you a personal question?
No, you can't.
Is your daughter mulatto?
Of course, he didn't have tentacles, since he wasn't an ocean-dwelling invertebrate. Divine was born Harris Milstead, but he often took on his divine persona for his music and film career.
No woman's worth falling on the earth, so walk like a man, my son.
Unfortunately, he passed away only 1 year before The Little Mermaid's release.
You poor unfortunate soul! Go ahead, make your choice.
Number 7. Annie Wilkes, Misery.
My name is Annie Wilkes.
I'm a number one fan.
Yes, that's right. I'm also a nurse.
Annie Wilkes is one of the most popular figures in horror, known for her seemingly sweet yet actually malicious personality and the atrocious acts she commits towards Paul Sheldon, an author she holds captive after rescuing him during a blizzard.
Ooh, I hope I didn't wake you.
These acts include tying him to a bed and brutally breaking his ankles with a sledgehammer.
Shh, darling. Trust me.
God's sake!
It's for the best.
Eddie, please!
In the DVD commentary, director Rob Reiner stated that a pediatric nurse named Janine Jones, who would induce paralysis in her patients before attempting to revive them in order to receive praise for her efforts, loosely influenced the murderous tendencies of Wilkes' character.
You dirty bird. How could you?
Jones may have killed up to 46 children, though only 2 were confirmed, which landed her a 99-year prison sentence.
God, I love you.
Number 6. Hannibal Lecter, The Silence of the Lambs.
You will let me know when those lambs stop screaming, won't you?
This movie gave us one of cinema's most renowned villains in Hannibal Lecter, the unnervingly intelligent cannibal that helps Clarice Starling in her search for a serial killer.
Jack Crawford sent a trainee to me.
He's a character adapted from Thomas Harris's 2 suspense novels from the 80s. But it wasn't until the 21st century that Harris revealed Lecter's inspiration to be a man he called Dr. Salazar.
If you didn't kill him, then who did, sir?
Who can say? Best thing for him, really. His therapy was going nowhere.
While working as a reporter, Harris spoke to this eloquent doctor in prison in a similar interaction to Starling and Lecter's discussions.
What does he do, this man you seek?
He kills women.
No, that is incidental.
Though Harris never revealed the inmate's name, Dr. Salazar's story and the information given by Harris seemed to point to a real-life Mexican doctor named Alfredo Bali Trevino, who served a sentence at the same prison for chopping up his lover.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Number 5. Auric Goldfinger, Goldfinger.
This is gold, Mr. Bond. All my life I've been in love with its color.
While the titular villain may have been overshadowed by his own henchmen in the film, he still poses a menacing threat to James Bond as he attempts to radioactively contaminate the gold in Fort Knox.
His government's given you a bomb. I prefer to call it an atomic device. It's small, but particularly dirty. Cobalt and iodine? Precisely.
American media at the time claimed that Goldfinger's persona was based on a gold mining magnate by the name of Charles W. Engelhart Jr.
Go on, Mr. Bond.
During the 50s, Engelhart built his company into one of the world's leaders in the refining of precious metals, with specific attention paid to gold, which he acquired from South Africa.
Forgive me, Mr. Bond, but I must arrange to separate my gold from the late Mr. Solo.
Though the history books omit a small steel hat-wielding henchman in Englehart's story, we can't rule him out as a likely model for the character.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Number 4. Biff Tannen, Back to the Future Part 2.
Look at him. He's a butthead just like his old man was.
While he had a minor role as an intimidating bully in the first movie, Biff's role is significantly expanded for the sequel. Now, Tannen is an extremely wealthy and powerful man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Biff Tannen Museum, dedicated to Hill Valley's #1 citizen and America's greatest living folk hero, the one and only Biff Tannen.
In the real world in October of 2015, the same month and year that are visited in the second film, writer Bob Gale admitted that Donald Trump influenced the older version of Biff, as the business mogul was a well-established American figure in the late 1980s thanks to his significant role in the real estate market.
Poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings, and yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
While Gale had never admitted this fact before Trump's presidential bid in 2015, the similarities between the two are undeniable.
Idiot.
Number 3. Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Sally, I hear something. Stop. Stop.
Known around the world for his specialty chainsaw and mask made from human skin, Leatherface is one of the most popular and influential characters in horror movie history.
Please help! Please.
As horrifying as he is, it might terrify you even more to find out that a real-life killer named Ed Gein, who also wore a mask made from the same material, is allegedly one of the sources for the character.
There's something about Gein that appeals to the morbid curiosity within all of us.
This Wisconsin criminal exhumed corpses and made keepsakes like lampshades from their bones and skin.
Because these crimes were real, we had to make Leatherface into this hulking monster who wears a mask of human flesh and wields a chainsaw.
Gein's story has been so instrumental to writers and filmmakers that he's inspired numerous other fictional villains, such as Psycho's Norman Bates and The Silence of the Lambs' Buffalo Bill. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Number 2. Magneto, the X-Men franchise.
You see, I think what you really are afraid of is me. Me and my kind. The Brotherhood of Mutants.
Magneto is one of the X-Men's primary antagonists, a man who holds the ability to manipulate magnetic fields and dons a helmet that's resistant to telepathy.
What the hell do you want with me?
You? My dear boy. Whoever said I wanted you?
It sounds nerdy, but it's pretty badass when he completely uproots the Golden Gate Bridge in X-Men: The Last Stand. His villainy stems from his violent and forceful attitude against mutant oppression by humans, which we can't help but admit sounds similar to Malcolm X's approach towards racism in America. In fact, comic book writer Chris Claremont confirmed the connection.
It means the same thing that Attorney General Robert Kennedy means when he says that the #1 domestic problem in America is the race problem, that it is almost impossible to solve it. It's almost impossible to give justice to Negroes.
To top things off, Magneto's first comic book appearance was in the September 1963 issue of X-Men, at the height of the Civil Rights Movement.
We will strike with a vengeance and a fury that this world has never witnessed.
Before we get to our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Love is strange. Lot of people.
And your father called you the tumor.
And what did your father call you, Charlie? Oh yeah, I forgot. He wasn't around.
One story the guys told me, the story I believe, was from his days in Turkey. There was a gang of Hungarians that wanted their own mob. They realized that to be in power, you didn't need guns or money or even numbers. You just needed the will to do what the other guy wouldn't.
They told me that you had gone totally insane. And that your methods were unsound.
I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me.
Number 1. Dracula, the Dracula franchise.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
Known for his penchant for violence, his blood-sucking ways, and his signature cape and fangs, Dracula has become a pop culture mainstay throughout the last century and beyond.
I hope you will find this comfortable.
It all started with the famous 1897 novel of the same name, in which author Bram Stoker based his iconic villain on the 15th century Prince of Wallachia, later dubbed Vlad the Impaler and also known as Vlad Dracula. While it hasn't been proven that Vlad drank blood, he did gain a reputation for being excessively violent and cruel, mostly stemming from his practice of impaling enemies on the battlefield.
There is no doubt that the only way Vlad could get rid of the Boyar and cement himself in power was to kill them all.
As such, he's inspired numerous films throughout the years, technically starting with the unauthorized adaptation called Nosferatu in 1922, and continuing into the 21st century.
One grew into a warrior, so fierce that entire armies would retreat in terror at the mention of his name.
Do you agree with our list?
Why do you ask questions to which you already know the answers?
Can you think of any movie villains that were inspired by real people?
Here. In case you think of any ideas.
For more evil top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
I like to see girls of that caliber.